Thank you. Inflation is out of control across the Australian economy. It's disgraceful, though, for the Greens to leverage this human disaster to advance their green communist ideology. Advocating price controls is the economics of wishful thinking, a victory of feelings over facts and common sense, over historical experience and over basic economics. Price controls don't work. They have never worked and they will never work, and they make things worse. The price of an item is not some magical creation or creature with a life of its own that government can control. Price is an outcome of other factors: material costs, input costs, retailer margin, to name a few. The Greens have in recent times talked about the lack of competition in retailing, especially food retailing, but they missed the point. The answer to poor competition is not price controls, it's more competition. It is Harris Farm Markets opening new concept stores that rival Coles and Woolworths. It's the reject shop which increasingly undercuts Coles and Woolies by significant amounts. It's your local butcher or produce store which now sell products cheaper than Coles and Woolies. To a degree, the Greens are using misdirection. They're asking Australians to look over here at profiteering instead of looking at the root cause of inflation, which is the increasing cost of business inputs. Starting with the Greens' own net zero energy policies. Net zero fairy tale power is pushing up power prices, and if power goes up, everything goes up. Farmers need power to run their cool rooms, they need diesel to run their farm equipment, and they need fertiliser, which is made from natural gas. Manufacturers and wholesalers need electricity, gas and diesel for every aspect of their operation. Yet the Greens are over there, on my left, on everyone's left really, advocating for no new oil or gas projects. Scarcity causes the price to rise. Their own net zero policies are a major cause of inflation. Now they want to fix that with price controls. Controlling the price causes producers, wholesalers and retailers to go broke as their input costs exceed their selling price. To stay in business, these companies will most likely stop selling anything they sell at a loss. This is exactly what happened in Venezuela and Sri Lanka, where price controls led to food shortages and black markets appearing for food staples. Criminal gangs moved into those black markets. I know Coles and Woolies are bad, but I will take them over criminal gangs. Sri Lanka is especially relevant here. Their food crisis was caused by forcing farmers to abandon the use of hydrocarbon fertilisers and pesticides in the name of net zero. Inhuman. Farm productivity fell and prices rose as farmers tried to make enough money to feed their families. The government intervened with price controls. The result was food shortages, starvation and then rioting that forced the government to back down and once again allow modern production techniques to feed the people. Another problem with price controls is that investment moves away from industries that are rendered unprofitable with price controls. Investment in buildings, equipment, software and staff training will fall in price-controlled industries. That is fact, proven repeatedly throughout history. This leaves long-term supply deficits that will keep prices higher for longer and hurt everyday citizens. Unlike the Greens, One Nation policy will solve the cost of living and housing crisis without making either problem worse. We will do the opposite of the Greens, always a good policy. Reduce red, green and blue tape. We will reduce new arrivals until the market can fairly provide for those who are already here. In housing, we will prevent homes being owned by those outside of Australia and allow councils to impose penalty rates on vacant homes or those being used for casual letting, which conflicts with the zoning. We will review the federal government housing code, which imposes unnecessary requirements, including making every house wheelchair-friendly, despite there being no wheelchair users in the house. I understand that adds about $40,000 to the price of every new house. We will allow Australians to use their super to invest in their own home. We will create a People's Bank to provide mortgages at 5% interest over 30 years on a 5% deposit and allow HECS debt to be rolled into the mortgage so that people can get a house loan. This policy means an Australian with a good job, even with a HECS debt, will be able to afford their own home now and start paying it off. There are many, many ways to solve the humanitarian disaster the policies of successive Liberal and Labor governments posed and have created. Price controls and green policies on housing, immigration, the environment, mining, farming are the exact opposite. One Nation wants to free up the people and free up our markets.